Chapter 1: The Old Mansion on the Hill. In the small town of Millfield, nestled in the foothills of the mountains, there was an old mansion on the hill. It was a towering, Gothic structure, with turrets and spires that reached up to the sky. The mansion had been abandoned for years, left to crumble and decay in the woods. The locals whispered about the mansion, saying that it was cursed. They claimed that strange things happened there, that the walls held secrets and the ghosts of the past still lingered. But for the most part, the mansion was left alone, a relic of a bygone era. One day, a group of teenagers from Millfield decided to explore the mansion. They were bored with their mundane lives and eager for adventure. They climbed up the hill, laughing and joking, until they reached the front door of the mansion. The door was old and rusted, but it creaked open at the touch of their hands. The teenagers stepped inside, their flashlights casting eerie shadows on the walls. The air was musty and stale, and the silence was deafening. As they explored the mansion, the teenagers began to feel a sense of unease. The rooms were empty and bare, but they felt as though they were being watched. They heard strange noises, like whispers and footsteps, but they couldn't find the source. Then, they came to the grand ballroom. It was the largest room in the mansion, with a chandelier hanging from the ceiling and a dusty old piano in the corner. The teenagers were admiring the room when they heard a sound that made their blood run cold. It was the sound of a piano playing. They turned to the corner where the piano sat, but there was no one there. The keys were moving on their own, playing a haunting melody that echoed through the room. The teenagers were frozen in fear, unable to move or speak. And then, the chandelier above them began to shake and rattle. The teenagers screamed and ran for the door, their hearts pounding in their chests. As they stumbled down the hill, they could hear the sound of the piano growing louder and louder, following them all the way back to town. From that day on, the mansion on the hill was avoided even more than before. The teenagers never spoke of what they had seen or heard, too afraid that they would be laughed at or dismissed. But deep down, they knew that something dark and malevolent lurked within the walls of the old mansion. Chapter 2: The Legend of the Mansion. After their harrowing experience in the old mansion on the hill, the group of teenagers tried to forget about it. But they couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, that they had disturbed a force beyond their understanding. One of the teenagers, a girl named Lily, became obsessed with the mansion. She spent hours researching its history, trying to uncover the truth behind its curse. She found old newspaper clippings and journal entries from the mansion's former owners, the Stantons, who had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. According to the legend, the Stantons had made a deal with the devil. They had become wealthy beyond their wildest dreams, but at a terrible cost. The devil had cursed their mansion, making it a place of death and despair. Lily was determined to uncover the truth. She convinced the other teenagers to join her on another visit to the mansion, armed with cameras and recording devices. They wanted to capture evidence of the supernatural activity that they had experienced before. As they entered the mansion, they noticed that it was even more decrepit than before. The walls were peeling, and cobwebs hung from the ceiling. The air was thick with dust and the scent of decay. They explored the mansion once again, this time recording everything they saw and heard. They found nothing out of the ordinary until they reached the grand ballroom once again. This time, the piano was silent, but there was a strange mist that filled the room. It seemed to be emanating from the walls themselves, swirling around them in a sinister dance. The teenagers felt a cold chill run down their spines. Suddenly, they heard a voice in their heads, a voice that whispered in a language they couldn't understand. They felt a presence in the room, something dark and powerful. The teenagers ran out of the mansion, screaming in terror. But as they looked back, they saw a figure standing in the doorway, watching them with glowing red eyes. Lily knew then that they had unlocked something that they could never put back. The mansion on the hill was cursed, and they had awoken the spirits that dwelled within its walls. Chapter 3: The Aftermath. After their second visit to the mansion, the group of teenagers began to experience strange occurrences. They heard the sound of the piano playing in their dreams, and they felt a presence in their homes. Lily was the most affected. She began to see visions of the mansion, and of the spirits that haunted it. She became obsessed with the legend of the Stantons, convinced that she could uncover the truth. One night, Lily disappeared. The other teenagers searched for her, but they couldn't find any trace of her. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. The townspeople whispered that Lily had been taken by the spirits of the mansion, that she had become a victim of its curse. The mansion itself had disappeared, swallowed up by the earth, leaving behind only a dark, gaping hole. The other teenagers never spoke of their experiences again. They tried to move on with their lives, but they could never forget the mansion on the hill, or the curse that had followed them home. Years later, a new family moved to Millfield, and they heard the legend of the cursed mansion. They laughed it off as a silly story, but one day, the father decided to take a hike up the hill. He found the hole where the mansion had once stood, and he felt a strange sensation, as if he was being watched. Suddenly, the ground gave way beneath him, and he fell into a dark, cavernous pit. He never returned. The townspeople of Millfield still whisper about the cursed mansion on the hill, and of the spirits that haunt its ruins. They warn visitors to stay away, lest they become trapped in its curse forever. The mansion may be gone, but its legacy lives on, a reminder that some secrets are best left buried.